Life is hard. Life is not fair. Your parents should have been more emotionally available so that you could have experienced unconditional love as a child, but they weren't. Your ex shouldn't have cheated on you and traumatized you, but they did. You should have been born prettier, wealthier, happier. Your life should have unfolded exactly the way that you wanted to, with the perfect job, perfect house, perfect relationship, but it didn't. Hi my loves, welcome back to the Brain and Beauty Club. I'm Kelly, and on here we bring nuance back to womanhood. Today we're going to be discussing bitterness, what it actually is, why it low-key feels comforting, and how it's ruining your life without you even realizing it. But before we get into it, I need you to hit the like and subscribe button so that more people can join our conversation. Now that's out of the way, let's get into it. It's easy to feel like you have been wronged by life, especially if you have experienced more hardships than the people around you. It's only natural and human to think, how come everything comes so easily for them, but not for me? I used to think like that too. I remember I used to think that I had to work 10 times harder just to get the things that I wanted compared to everyone else. That everyone who's living the kind of life that I wanted must be so privileged. They have no idea how hard life is for the rest of us. Because how else could they possibly be so happy and bubbly and pretty and perfect if it wasn't for their privilege? It wasn't until I spoke to these perfect people that I realized they have their own problems too. And I guess if we were to go down the rabbit hole of comparing whose hardships were harder, then objectively you can say that mine were harder. But what does it matter? You know, if someone grew up with a sheltered life, something small in my eyes can seem like a disaster in theirs. But most importantly, even if they did have it easier in life, what impact does it actually have on my life? And the answer is none. It doesn't affect my life at all. It doesn't help me heal. It doesn't help me move forward. It doesn't make me happier. I want you to understand that being bitter doesn't make you a bad person, but it does mean that you have pain and resentment that you haven't processed fully, and they're currently just stuck in your body. When I say that being bitter is ruining your life, I genuinely mean it, because it keeps you stuck in a state where you think everything is just unfair. When you see people being happy, it reminds you that you're the only person stuck with a sad life. When you see other people's success, it triggers you. When you see other people being in happy relationships, it irritates you. When you see people having an easy life, it angers you. What kind of people do you think this version of you attracts? Let's say that you want to find girlfriends who are kind, caring, and supportive, and you want to build these deep, meaningful friendships. Do you think the kind of girls that you want to be friends with will feel safe and want to be friends with you when literally their existence and their happiness trigger your resentment? Or let's say that you want to find a boyfriend who is loving, kind, caring, financially stable, but you think that the only reason he is so kind and he has a good job is because he is privileged. He didn't have to experience any hardships in his life. Do you think a guy like that will want to be with someone who thinks like you? So what happens instead is that you actually repel the people that you say you want in your life, and you attract what feels comforting and familiar. They say that misery loves company, and it's true. Think about it. If seeing people being happy and living their dream lives trigger you, then it's so much easier to surround yourself with people who are equally miserable, if not more miserable than you. I know this because I used to be pretty miserable myself. I used to be friends with people who were equally miserable, and they also felt like they were wronged by the world, and we used to indulge in pity parties together. Until one day I decided to read some Nietzsche because I was depressed AF over a breakup. And I thought to myself, what a better time to get into Nietzsche than now. So I used to pour myself a big glass of gin and cry while reading his aphorisms. And to be honest, I didn't understand a lot of it because his writing is very convoluted and I find it quite hard to follow, especially when I was drunk and depressed. But even in my drunken and depressed state, a passage on pity really stood out to me. And I read it 5 years ago and I still remember it to this day. He writes, "Observe how children weep and cry so that they will be pitied, how they wait for the moment when their condition will be noticed." Nietzsche is basically saying here that children don't just cry because they're hurt, they cry because they want to be seen and they want the attention. He continues to write, "Or live among the ill and depressed and question whether their eloquent laments and whimpering, the spectacle of their misfortune, is not basically aimed at hurting those present. The pity that the spectators then express consoles the weak and suffering, inasmuch as they see that, despite all their weakness, they still have at least one power, the power to hurt." Here we're saying that even when we're ill and depressed and we don't have much power left, we still have one power, and that is the power to hurt. And in that sense, the power to hurt means to make people sad, to burden them with guilt and obligation. He then continues to say that when expressions of pity make to the unfortunate man aware of this feeling of superiority, he gets a kind of pleasure from it. His self-image revives. He is still important enough to inflict pain on the world. Thus, the thirst for pity is a thirst for self-enjoyment. Here he is saying that we as human beings get pleasure from this. Not joy, but more comfort. The feeling that I still matter, so it soothes the pain temporarily. Now let's bring this back to bitterness and the kind of people that you end up surrounding yourself with. It feels good to be around people who are equally unhappy because you feel understood. You can complain about how unfair life is together. You can engage in pity together. You get the validation that you need to soothe your pain. But the thing is, the longer that you sit in bitterness, the more it solidifies and eventually it becomes your worldview. You didn't get the job that you wanted. Is because the person who got it is more privileged. She is prettier and she's more likable, even though technically you're better and you're smarter and you're more qualified. Your love life is a mess is because life hates you. All the good guys are taken by girls who just had it easier. When this is your thought pattern for long enough, you forget all the good things that you have in your life. You almost lose your capability to have gratitude because you've trained your brain to only focus on the bad. So where do we go from here? I am not one to advocate for toxic positivity, but I am all for processing your emotions and trying to see the positives in your life. When you go through hardships in life, it sucks. Of course it sucks. You're only human. It's natural to feel sad, to feel disappointed, to feel angry. But it is important to sit with these emotions and not let them turn into bitterness. Let's say that you end up in a situationship and the boy breaks your heart once again. Cry out, be sad, be angry. You're only human. It's natural to think, why is this happening again? Why does this always happen to me? How come everyone is in a happy relationship but not me? But what not to do is go straight to the mindset of this is because life is not fair, nothing good ever happens to me. Then proceed to complain to your friends, have a pity party, they validate your anger and you consolidate your bitterness even more. Instead, just allow yourself to be sad. Don't go straight to the life is not fair narrative. I know it feels tempting because it's comforting, but it's not going to do you any good. Just allow yourself to be sad. Just cry it out. Sit with your emotion. Your sadness needs to leave your body rather than being stuck in it. And the only way to do that is just to sit with it long enough so that you have had time to process it for it to leave your body. If you've been bitter for a long time, this isn't something that you can just press a switch and turn it off. It takes lots of practice, lots of self-reflection, maybe even therapy to get to a healthier place. There are, of course, mindset shifts that we can adopt, that we can learn to become more positive. But for today, I really wanted us to focus on the awareness and the understanding of what bitterness actually is. Because I think being aware is actually the hardest part. It took me so many years to even realize that I was bitter this whole time. So I wanted to share my experience with you guys so that hopefully you can learn from it. As always, remember, softness isn't about shrinking. You can be delicate in your presence and powerful in your mind. I will see you here next Wednesday. Bye.